Jews are famous throughout history for not eating pork, as well as other foods, and this has made them stand out from many of the civilisations around them. Even under persecutions, for instance under the Seleucid Empire, Jews accepted martyrdom rather than eating pork in public, since they understood this as a public renunciation of their faith. So, why did the Jews not eat pork? And what are the other laws? Well, stick around to find out. Jews follow a series of laws known as kashrut, a word which comes from the Hebrew root meaning fit, proper, or correct. It is the same root as the more commonly known word kosher, which describes food that meets these standards. Contrary to popular belief, rabbis or other religious leaders do not bless food to make it kosher, and there are indeed some blessings and prayers that some Jews recite over food before eating it, but these have nothing to do with making the food kosher. Food can be kosher without a rabbi being involved. For instance, the fruit and vegetables from your garden are of course kosher, unless they're covered in bugs. So, what foods are not kosher? Well, we'll take a closer look at this in another video. But essentially, it is scavenging animals, carnivores, fish which don't have both fins and scales, and meat with blood, or meat and milk. The list of forbidden foods is found in the Torah, and the list begins with more obscure delicacies like camel and the rock badger before getting to the pig, which is the last of the mammals to be mentioned. The verse which says that pork should not be eaten is found in Leviticus 11:7 and states, "The swine, although it has true hoofs, with the hoofs cleft through, it does not chew the cud, it is unclean for you." Of all the rules of kashrut, the prohibition against eating pork has possibly the deepest resonance for Jews. Historically, the refusal to eat pork has been understood as a symbol of Jewish identity. Even today, many nominal Jews who do not observe other dietary laws refrain from eating pork. But surprisingly, the pig is one of the lesser offenders of the standards of kashrut compared to other animals. The Torah teaches that in order to be kosher, animals must chew the cud and have cleft hooves. And the pig does not chew the cud, but it does have cleft hooves, so we might expect that it would be less offensive than animals that meet neither standard. So why are Jews so against eating pork? Well, there are a number of theories. Richard Redding, a professor of anthropology, recently published a study attempting to decipher the historical origins of this Middle Eastern trend. He points out that between 5000 and 2000 BC, domestic animals were common in the Fertile Crescent and were likely kept on hand for food. But then around 1000 BC, keeping and eating pigs sharply declined. He believes that this is because pigs need a lot of water, making moving them quite hard. Because of his research, it shows that people began to keep chickens instead of pigs. There are a lot of reasons for keeping chickens instead of pigs. For instance, for the amount of food eaten and water drunk, chickens produce more food, as chickens require 3,500 litres of water to produce a kilo of meat, while pigs require 6,000. Secondly, chickens produce eggs, an important secondary product which pigs of course don't offer. Third, chickens are much smaller and thus can be eaten quickly, meaning you don't have to preserve the meat, which was quite hard in the heat of the Middle East and without fridges. Finally, chickens could be used by nomads, as chickens are small enough to be transported. Redding states that this explains why pigs were banned in the Middle Eastern religions, as if the pig had been integral to the subsistence system in the Middle East, it would not have been prohibited by religious edicts. A more traditional view is that there were health benefits to the kosher laws, especially back in ancient times. For example, the laws about butchering animals are so sanitary that kosher butchers are exempt from a number of regulations. Because of this, many modern Jews think that the laws of kashrut are simply a primitive health regulation that's become obsolete with more modern methods of producing food. But the simple answer to the reason why Jews don't eat pork and instead follow kosher is that the Torah says so. The Torah does not specify any reason for these laws, and for Torah-observant traditional Jews, there is no need for any other reason. It is possible that following the laws was simply to show obedience to God, even though the reason is unclear. Maybe the laws were meant to teach self-control, or maybe they were for the purpose of identity or a lesson in holiness. Whatever the reason for the law, Jews don't eat pork because the Torah says so. Thank you very much for watching. There'll be another video on kosher coming soon, so please stay tuned for that. If you like this video, then please make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more.